everybody. Live on the special day because I am joining Livia Zanger here, and she is doing a musicality for women workshop seminar. She's a coach, and this is all for her platform, but we need to talk about music and listen to music. And my platform is all set up and ready for you guys to hear. We're going to do some comparison songs, talk about differences between styles and musicality in general. So I want to introduce to you here we have Livia Zenger, and thank you, welcome. And again, this is her meeting, this is not my meeting, but we're going to use mine to hang out and let everybody else watch and listen to some musical ideas for
Oh
dancing.
yeah.
Hi Livia, how are you?
Hi. Thank you so much for doing this. I mean,
Oh,
yeah, we were originally going to do this on Zoom, but it's better to do this and now more people can watch. So that's great. But yeah, I'm doing a
exactly.
musicality challenge and helping. I'm a ballroom dancer, and I have struggled, especially at competitions, trying to learn and adapt to the different songs quickly and understand musicality. And so I was like, I'm going to do a challenge about this and help female pro-am dancers upgrade and learn how to be really good at musical and musicality. And so I reached out to Brent. I was like, you got to help me with this. You got to come and talk about this because he's the expert. So I'm really pumped, and I've got some questions for you that we can start out with, so that my people who are watching this can get to know you a little bit.
No problem. I'll put us up here, and then if questions come in,
Yeah,
we can see them as they
exactly.
come in, and everyone is welcome to start typing and anything music today right now, right? So
Anything else? Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
first
Cool.
question,
Well,
go for it.
first question. So obviously you love music. Obviously you're doing this as your livelihood, and I'm just curious, like, why is music so important to you? Like, why do you prioritize it so much?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Prioritize. Hmm. I guess I had prioritized it since I was a kid. I remember the very first time was sitting at my piano. I had two older siblings who were also taking lessons. I think I was maybe four, three or
Hmm.
four, and I remember seeing their books and they got all the pictures of it. And I didn't know how to read music. I knew they would put their hands on these white things and make noise, and they were looking at this book. So I open the book, I see a picture of a dog and a boy playing with a balloon. So I
Yeah.
just start pounding the keys, singing about a dog and a balloon. And they must have said, musically speaking, this kid has got some problems. Uh, Now, the other thing was, I didn't know anything going on, but
Mhm.
my parents saw like I was associating whatever. And so that's when the musical kind of connection began.
I see.
And I have, I'm in my hotel room
I
because
see.
I'm
I
in New
hear
Orleans right now, um, working at the Arthur Murray Worldorama. And I think it's housekeeping. I think they figured
I
it out,
see.
though I'm not coming. Anyway,
Moving
so anyway, it just started from there, and then I finally got some piano lessons. But my piano lessons didn't really stick because I didn't really like the structure of piano lessons and all of
on.
this structure. I wanted to jam. And so they would give me these classical pieces and I would take them home and I would jazz them up. I'd be like, turn them into swings, like do ba da do, and nothing classical. And so a lot of the teachers quit me because they're like, I can't teach this child because he's a little kooky. And so
Yeah.
I just started teaching myself the piano. I knew
Okay.
where middle C was in notes
Yeah.
and on the piano. That's the only knew the association. So I knew lines and spaces you had to count up and down. So I'd count up three, that's an E. So I'd write E. And I would just
Mhm.
write the little letters against every note, little tiny A's and B's. And if it didn't sound right, I knew it had to be a black key. So I had to
Right.
be like, oh, that's not right. Go down one. Oh, that's
Mhm.
not right. Go up one. Oh yeah, that's it. So harmonically I could hear when it worked because it would make sense. Then I figured out what flats and sharps were and all those things. So all through high school, I started joining the band.
Mhm.
I started playing the drums for my high school band in seventh grade because I was just hanging out at the basketball team game because my brother played. The
Yeah.
band was there the high school band's ready to jam. There's no drummer. He was like this total crazy stoner. He never showed up on time. So I just hear someone like, I don't know how to play drums. I'm like, I do. So here's my little seventh grade legs walking over to this massive drum set. I was so excited.
Yeah.
And then band teacher's like, "You can play?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, just tell me." And he's like, "Okay, we're gonna do Rock Around the Clock." I'm like, "I know that song." Duke
Yeah.
da duke. And I'm just playing. And this band teacher is just like, "Who is this? What is going on?" So
Yeah.
anyway, the real drummer shows up halfway through the game, wasted. And he's like, you played the whole game?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Will you come every game?" And he didn't want to show up. So every game I would show up, I would play the first half, and he'd
Yeah.
finally come dropping in second half. So I just got into music and drumming, but never went back to the piano until when I, after high school, went to Berkeley.
Mhm.
Decided to go to Berkeley College of Music in Boston because I didn't really want to go to college because I was a little stressed. So I went there, did piano performance and drums. Then after that, went back to University of Utah because my mom worked there for a huge discount. The music program was terrible. I felt like I was becoming a high school band teacher, which is fine. Nothing wrong with a high school band teacher, but I didn't want to learn how to play woodwinds and all the other instruments that you need to know. So I started, somehow someone found out that I was a dancer in my other life, knew how to choreograph for boys and girls like cabaret, which I did. And I
Yeah.
was working in a bar, and so the bar, someone said, someone to another studio owner, they approached me. I was like, "Yeah, I can help with lifts. How hard is that?" Well, I
Right.
go over there and I'm like, "Yeah, have that kid do this and have him flip there, make that, oh, and do this." And there, and it went on to win some national title. So then they
Yeah.
hired me back to choreograph again and again and again. And I thought, oh, maybe I should go back into dancing. So that BYU was the only real dance program that had a touring company and opportunities to travel. So I applied, didn't get in, have to go back and take a whole bunch of classes over, didn't get in again,
Oh.
thought I was not going to get in. I was frustrated. I was going to move to Puerto Rico and windsurf for the rest of my life. I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
And the girl I was dating at the time was like, "Just go in and ask. You got to find out." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. They're just going to say, 'Oh, yeah, of course. Come back. We're sorry.'" I was so mad. And she's just like, "Go down there." Because I was going to buy a ticket that day. I mean, I was irrational, crazy person.
Hmm.
I got the letter on a Friday, so I had to wait till Monday.
Okay.
Fine, fine. I'll go in. I'll show you. I go in. Lady that helped me before, she's like, "Oh yeah, why'd you get in?" I'm like, I don't know." She's like, "Well, your GPA is like 2.6. You're not going to get in." I'm like, "No, it wasn't. It was 3.4. I transferred. I watched it. I freak out."
Yeah.
She starts typing. She's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. It was 3.4. We are sorry. We're going to send you another letter, and we are so sorry."
Oh my God.
And I left. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got in." And
Yeah.
that's where my life started from
I
there,
see.
because I was ready to
Wow.
go move back to Puerto Rico,
Hmm.
windsurf during the day, wait tables at night, and just be a bum. I was so frustrated. I'm just gonna be a bum. I'm just gonna surf,
Yeah.
grow my hair out, the whole thing.
Right.
And just that one visit flipped it. And that's when BYU started, and I started playing piano and music for their dance department for ballet and modern because I
Wow.
was just fresh out of music school.
Yeah.
So they're like, "We need a drummer, we need a pianist." So I worked that gig for all 4 years, which was amazing because I got to play for Doris Humphrey, I got to play for Alvin Ailey, I got to play
Hmm.
for these amazing contemporary companies. So that's what started my connection with me musically and seeing dancing.
I
And
see. Okay.
so that's when I was like, I can see something and literally put it to music. Because in modern, the teacher will put it together a whole sequence, right? Puts together the sequence. I watch it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's 3/4 time. And then I think of a song that I can play to it. And I literally visually will watch something, and I hear sound when I see movement. I guess that's the best way to
Interesting.
put it.
Okay.
So that started, and then I graduated, went to New York, did Stomp for a year for the summer
Hmm.
in Canada, and then came back and started working ballroom. Got my first pro partner. I mean, I can keep going. This is not very exciting, but that's
I
kind of how.
love it. It's so
Once I got to
cool.
New York, yeah, once I
Yeah.
got to New York, I was dancing professionally, and then TV started getting involved in ballroom dance competitions called Good Life TV, and they were going to film Manhattan Dance Bar Championships.
Okay.
Well, Gary and Diana, knowing that I was a musician, they're like, "Hey, man, do you think you can make the music for this whole program to help with licensing and whatnot?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "If I had the gear, I don't have any pianos, I don't have any recording equipment, I don't even have a computer." So they went out, we took out a loan, we bought all this gear, keyboard, stands, speakers, everything to make music. And so they're like, "Okay, there you go." And they expected me. I was supposed to be like 20 songs. And I just started like figuring out how to work the software.
Hmm.
So I made a few things of this, but that's when I started. And then Gary and Diana, "Hey, can you make a new samba for us?" So I made a new samba. And then Louis Van Amstel, "Hey, man, I heard you did Gary's music. Can you do my Yeah, da 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 da. And then
Hmm.
Slavic. And then like all of the champions through Gary and Diana, they would just refer me. Then I got my first gig at Yankee Classic to do music for the comp.
Hmm.
And then that started. And then once I did music for that comp, other organizers that were judges were like, "Hey bro, I dig your music, man. Can you do my comp?"
Yeah.
So I did their comp and then that comp. And now I do 43 a year myself. And I have a team now. I send out my music to other guys I've trained.
Hmm.
So we do about 100, over 160 gigs a year.
That's
So
amazing.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But
That's
it
very
worked
cool.
out. Yeah, it worked out. So that's how it kind of all ran together, the dancing and then music. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah, you just have, do you see your little comment? Like, Zia
I
Cruz, she
do.
says hello. Oh, Danielle.
That's oh, that's awesome. These comments. Yep.
Danielle says, "You played Gary B's bit at my last comp, and I
Bittersweet.
love the song so much. I blew you a kiss." Oh, blew me a kiss? Oh, that's sweet.
Daniel's
Gary
awesome. I'm so
Champions.
glad to see you're here. And Sahela, great to see you.
Yes, welcome. Anyone can say anything anytime. So that's kind of how it started. And I was just like playing the stuff that I liked. It wasn't like I was thinking, "Oh, I need to be so, they need to have this." I just like, I like this song, I'm gonna play it.
Right.
And that just kind of hooked, I
Yeah. I
guess.
think it's just so cool that you were able to like stay in the ballroom world. Like, but it's not just, you're not like competing competitively as a pro, but you're still so much involved in the industry and creating the music. I just think that's a really cool way, like a different way of being in this world. That's just a cool
Yes.
perspective.
Well,
I
for me, when I was trying to make a decision about, where my life was going, um, what to do in the ballroom world, in my
Mhm.
brain, there was only four options. One, studio owner, dedicate your
Yeah.
life to the studio, which is every night except for a
Yeah.
Sunday. I mean, it's a life.
Mhm.
So, two, pro am, and just be one of those pro am teachers that have a group of students and you
Right.
go all around the country and you dance and you get the points. And, and
Yeah.
that kind of coincides with the studio, but not necessarily. They have to be both. And then three is to become a world champion or a
Mhm.
finalist on that level where you're now esteemed and are paid crazy lumps of money to teach and coach. And you can live off of that and survive very well if you're one of those high coaches that are in demand, not only
Yeah.
nationally, but globally. And
Yeah.
that's by becoming a world champion or a US champion, things like that. And
Right.
the other one is to own a competition, and run events as a kind of a promoter, if you will, and which is also
Mhm.
a very profitable thing to do. So those four things I was not interested in at any of
Yeah.
those things. Um, I loved dancing, but I was dancing in for the art of dancing. I did not enjoy the competitive side of dancing, even though I did it.
Right.
Um, I won. I think I won the national cabaret title 2 times as an amateur,
Yes. Wow.
and
That's cool. I did not know that.
oh yeah, 95 and 96. You weren't born
Okay.
then. That's why you didn't know
No. But I would love to see a video of that if there's one out there.
that. There's let's see. there is a view that, well, there was the Worlds at BYU that one year. And I took
Yes.
third in the Worlds that year, and that is on YouTube. That's on
Okay.
YouTube. It's
Gotta go look that up.
no, it's pretty embarrassing. I'm in like my little blue suit and whatnot. Hold on a second.
There you
Someone's
go.
knocking at my door.
No worries.
Jeez.
Got some awesome comments here. Brenda's Rockstar. Totally agree, Alan. Free YouTube champion. Yeah, Taurus. Before YouTube was like a thing where you know what people are doing. That's great. Yeah, I love these comments. And for everyone watching, if you have questions, drop them in the comments and we can answer them.
Okay. Yeah, they really wanted to clean my room right now. Okay. Excuse me,
Wow.
everyone.
There. Okay. So cool. Thank you for sharing all of that. Great to get to know a little bit more of you. And I'm curious. So now that I know why you care about music so much and kind of your story with it, why do you think that musicality itself is a topic that dancers should focus on and practice?
Mm. Well, one thing I have watched, well, the first time I figured out about musicality is I was doing a show somewhere, and my mother and her husband, who was, I guess, my stepfather, but I was already out of the house by the time, so um, he was hardcore, non emotional,
Hmm.
old time, work hard with your hands, just brutally hard. And
Right.
he came to the performance, and I was doing this cabaret, and it was to Nat King Cole's Love, like L is for the way, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, and the way I started that out was I was a bum begging in the street. So I come out and I'm begging from the audience members, and then the little song comes on, the do 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 little drum rhythm, and I just repeated that drum rhythm, and then I found an announcer voice, and I had this guy come in like, ladies and gentlemen, you see before you a man who has nothing, a man who has absolutely nothing. And I'm begging, like, now if this man
Yeah.
could have one dream, what do you think he would choose? Would he choose money? Would he choose riches? Or would he choose? And then this beautiful girl comes on in white, and then you hear L is for, he's gonna choose love, right?
Oh,
So she
nice.
comes in, takes off his crappy jacket. He's got this tie on, tuxedo, and
Yeah.
he's all right. And then they do this little dance, and he's doing his little dream, right? Because that's what he would
Hmm.
choose, and everybody's happy. So that was the thing. So we get done with the show, and I go find him, and he is in tears. He's crying like a little hamster. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what is your problem? And he's just like, I don't know, just the association with the music. Like you were dancing the music because the story was, and he had this whole tie together with the music.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I guess I did unbeknown choreographed it to the music, but I just thought, why don't you choreograph it to the music? That's the music. You
Right.
should be matching
Yeah.
the music. That was my
Hmm.
first thought. Which nowadays is not the same. It's now opposite. It's now expected that I, as a musician, have to play the music for the dancer, which is so odd for me. But
Yeah.
that it is flipped that way. It is the expectation
Okay.
now is the dancer is out there, and I need to choose the best music for that dancer, not a
Interesting.
dancer. Deal with the song that you're going to get,
Yeah.
because that's a
Uh-huh.
great dancer. A great dancer, you
Hmm.
don't see their face get all sour if they don't like the song. You don't see
Yeah.
anything. You don't know. You think they love that song like they wrote it
Right.
themselves. So,
Hmm.
um, well, we can talk about that later. But that's
Hmm.
when the first music I was aware of musicality, of like, oh, I guess I do. I guess if there's a hit, boom, I hit the hit. I am on
Right.
about those accents. But I was really more moved that he was so emotional. And I'm like, that's because I told the story with the movement. And so that
Right.
was my big deal. And so to me, every song has a story that can be created. However, it's from the song. It's created from that song,
Yeah.
not I have an idea and I expect this music to match me,
Right.
because that is not how dancing began. Someone wasn't out
Hmm.
just flipping around doing things with their body, and then some musicians like, oh my gosh, that looks like cha-cha rhythm. They didn't. It didn't work that way.
Right.
They heard that salsa and they're like, oh, they start moving. And then someone says, dude, just do it this way every time. And then they're like, they organize it. And then that's how it
Yeah.
becomes its thing. And salsa just became
Mhm.
cha-cha because they started slowing down the salsa. And as they slowed down the salsa, that same conga rhythm into cha-cha.
Oh yeah.
That is how cha-cha became. Cha-cha is
Yeah.
just mambo and salsa slowed down massively. So, because
Wow.
if you take a
Yeah.
conga rhythm, I can do it in this phone. You can maybe hear it. You can speed it up to cha-cha rhythm, but then if you take that same conga rhythm, put it up to salsa rhythm, you're listening to salsa. You wouldn't even be like, oh my gosh, it is literally the
Mhm.
same rhythm, just faster or slower. So
Wow.
yeah, that's the whole kind of core of when it comes to music because it can tell you a story, but it's really got its own strength that you need to build a story around it. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's how I
Oh yeah.
came into music. Out. Long story.
I completely agree to that. And it's like it goes back to kind of what we were talking about before before we started this live. It's like dancers paying attention to the music, especially at competitions. And especially it's not like, oh, if this song is terrible, my dancing's now going to be bad. It's like how can you make your dancing look good no matter what the song is, and how can you connect to the song even if it's maybe a bad song?
That's
And like
right.
what advice do you have for that, who dancers who may struggle with that, like, oh, I just can't connect to the song, or it's just not fun, so I don't have any performance? Like I've heard dancers say that,
Hmm.
and I think it's something that I would like some more advice on from you.
Good. Yes, there's two things to do. One is just dance to the crappy music and deal with it and get used to it because then you just
Right.
all of a sudden just you're not really hearing it, you're just hearing rhythm. I
Hmm.
remember when I was teaching at Gary and Diana McDonald's studio back in Jersey. Back in the day, I was just and Blackpool's coming up, and that's when they were still competing and going to Blackpool. And for 2 weeks before Blackpool, all of us had to listen to Blackpool music every day. Yeah, they would practice to it. They would they put it on every time, and they would just get used to it. They just get accustomed to it. And then by the time by the time they left and got to the venue, what this is what Gary would tell me. They would hear that music, and they would get pumped. All of a sudden, they're pumped. They're not like,
Interesting.
oh
Okay.
my gosh, I hate this music. They're like excited, and now they're
Yeah.
connected, and they're all good with that. So just by doing that was helpful because it actually did a reversal for them. Because if they would have
Hmm.
practiced to all the really good, tasty music and all the beats and the modern tunes that are out, right? All that power that comes through those good recordings. And then you go to
Yeah.
Blackpool, you're in a carnivorous space, huge space, terrible echo, a band that isn't mixed probably well enough. And
Hmm.
you all that energy just goes, it doesn't drop, it just goes in a different direction, which is more spread out.
Yeah.
So you get let down because all your energy has now been sucked out by the room. So
Right.
that was a big deal. And the other way I have found,
Hmm.
and this is what happened to me when I was having a coaching, the my coach Rufus Dustin, um,
Okay.
he he just saw me compete at the previous comp. He was there on a Monday, and he just said, "You you don't have a story. It looked like you weren't even connecting to the music." And I'm like, "I wasn't. I thought I was a terrible. I didn't. I could barely. I didn't like it or something like that." And he's like,
Yeah.
"I could tell." He's like, "And I could tell because you don't have a story to tell." And I'm like, "What?" I'm just a little greenhorn. And he's like,
Right.
"You need to tell a story." So he uh, painfully went through our entire routine, and every 2 bars I had to have a story. I had to have a story about every move I was about to make, whether it was about my dog
Wow.
or he didn't care what was in my head.
Yeah.
He just says, you need to look like you're thinking about something. And if you're not feeling the music, then tell yourself a story and get through the story. And that was
Hmm.
the other help. So as soon as I would hear music, I'd be like, "Oh, I remember." And me and my partner, we would go through like this first step is, oh, I love you, and this first step is like, I'm glad to hold you. Like we would vocalize the
Wow,
story.
yeah.
So then when we go
Mhm.
dancing, we had a terrible song. We would see each other mouthing the story because we
Those
both would know that we've switched over from audio inspiration to like, this song sucks. Let's have
Mhm.
our own little storyline
Right.
between us. And
Mhm.
it worked because you didn't get to see the face. You didn't get to see me like, oh, struggle. It
Yeah.
was just
Yes.
instant. So that helped a lot. Create the
Mhm.
story with your partner if you
Mhm.
had no music. So
Right. Oh,
yeah.
that's so great, and I see there's a few comments in here and a
Oh
question.
my gosh, Danielle.
She found it. She got the YouTube
I
video.
swear,
I'm
Danielle.
gonna go save
You
that.
want to watch it?
It's great. Oh, yeah. Let's pull this up.
So there's the, oh, why did I show that?
It's there. Now everyone can go see
Okay,
it.
I can share my screen. I'll hold on. I swear. Why? Okay, I'm gonna find it. That's fine. Remember, I was very young. I had lots of hair. Remember this,
I'm pumped to see this.
you guys. Oh, where is it?
You were
Oh, there it
fast,
is. You
Danielle.
guys, I swear. Okay, hold on. Are you ready? I'll share
I
the
am
screen.
so ready.
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing, people. Okay, there it is. Here it comes. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
So this was the World's, and this was my second cabaret. Remember the first one I told you about?
Yes. It's a little small. Can you move the comments off the
Yeah,
main
I'll
screen?
move it.
Let's wait
I'll
for the
move
drum
it.
fills and Elaine to do it.
This should be better. Hold on. I know. Look, yes.
I love.
First of all, I'm gonna pause this. Like, I gotta explain a few
Yeah.
things.
Okay.
Um, so again, I was musicality, right? And I'm like, I'm all about the setup. So at this point in cabaret, I was very disappointed with cabaret because all I thought when I would watch cabaret was the guy posing, the girl being lifted. And
Yeah.
then they'd run to another spot, he would pose and lift, and she was doing all the dancing. And he
Mhm.
was just the big lug hauling her up every time in the air and then putting her back down. And I was like, that's no more of
Mhm.
this. We need some dancing. We need some side by side. I don't know why I thought this. I had no training to even. I just was like, I don't know. I was just a storyteller, I guess. And so this is the next cabaret after that little one with the bum, right? So I'm like, well, I got to come back with another story. I can't just show up and do lift and pose.
Yeah.
So I'd taken these two songs. One was Harry Connick, "It Had to Be You," is playing piano. And I thought I'll introduce the idea that I'm going to set up a date and I'm going on a date and I want to, because the song is "All I Need Is the Girl," right? And he's
Okay.
talking, and the song is like, I got my top hat, I got my white tie, right?
Mhm.
And he's getting ready for the date. So I thought, oh, yeah, I'll get some benches and a telephone. And like,
I
because
love it.
today you wouldn't be able to do any of this. They would not allow any of these
Props.
props.
Yeah.
So okay, anyway, we'll go back and enjoy. This is crazy. This is oh, that was sorry. Look at all that hair. I'm trying to get dressed, get a button done. By the way, that's the girl that told me to go down to BYU and not to
Ah,
go to
I
Puerto
see.
Rico. Danielle. Damn you, Danielle.
This is so good.
Look at all that hair. This is the first time we've done a full press from a bottom position slowly up.
I see.
This had never happened either. And she was so light. And then I put this crazy tag on the end. I don't know why. I don't know why I use that music as the tag. I have no idea. I just like the song, I think. It has nothing to do.
Oh, man. That was so good. I'm so
That
glad
has
you
nothing.
showed that.
That has nothing to do with the pre. I don't know why I did that, but that's
I
funny.
love it.
Oh my gosh.
That was great, and I think like I also love that like it's cabaret, but that was probably the most creative cabaret I've ever seen. I was talking to my older sister about this, and like lots of the cabarets nowadays that I watch are just they're sappy, like they're sappy love stories, and everything's sad and dramatic, and you're like, can we have a cabaret that's not that? That's like fun and makes you
Yeah,
laugh.
and that was
Oh,
yeah, that was really the reason because I was it was just so much. I don't know. I was just always entertainment. So like I wasn't into that competition thing. I just like
yeah,
let me tell a story,
right.
and no one knows where it's going to go.
Mhm.
That's what I like. I like throwing people off, and
Yeah.
because it keeps them engaged. You
Mhm.
start the song and it's the same song. You're like, okay, 1 minute you're in, and then you're like, what lunch do I got to go? Because there's no dynamic changing into it. So
Yeah, exactly.
anyway, thanks Danielle. I appreciate that. You get a free
Sure.
subscription for oh my gosh.
There you go. Dolores put a comment down there that I wanted to touch on. She said, "Do you think, from a judging aspect, that musicality is more important than technique?" What are your thoughts?
I will tell you this that okay, so when they're judging, they're not looking for the good, they're looking for the bad. So they'll just start slaking the ones that are on rhythm, gone. The ones that are not on the beat, gone. The ones that have bad top line, gone. uh, Obvious feet, heels and toes, right? So they'll just that there's because they obviously they can see everyone else that have good top lines, so they'll just
Yeah.
start taking away. So then when it comes down to the final is when musicality will beat technique 100% of the time. And I
Mhm.
and I and I would say I'm saying 100% of the time based off of, you know, I'm sure there's a judge out there that thinks technique is more important than musicality. Um, I would be very surprised though if there was a legit amazing judge that would put musicality over technique.
Mhm.
Um, so
Mhm.
that's how important I have seen and feel that musicality will get you the first place mark rather than second.
Yeah.
Plus, also connection will, you know, and all that stuff that they see technically going on. Great. I
Mhm.
mean, you wouldn't have made it that far without good legs and feet anyway. You
Right.
wouldn't be in that final without pretty good technique anyway, right?
Yeah.
So now they have to go, well, everyone's got pointed feet, turned out, everything is straight and on point. What are they doing with musical? How long are they holding those slows out? You know, on
Mhm.
shot on 4 and 1. You know,
Mhm.
you've got a whole note there, and then some kids just plow through it. Good dancers hit that, and you see that length of that one beat. So
Right.
I feel that at the beginning, musicality is good, but like when you want that final result, musicality, I feel, will edge you. And that's why I was doing my little Monday programs anyway.
Yeah.
Is music now that you're hearing in the ballroom is so repeated by old songs being redone. Um, if you're familiar with the song, but when it goes, even though it's not the original, it gives you an edge because now you know what's coming in the phrasing. You know when the verse is probably going to come, when the chorus, right? So that will help you because you can now have that song kind of going through, and you're like, oh yeah, I love you, babe. You know that part of the song is coming,
Yeah.
even though it's not the original. And so that's what I was doing on Mondays is playing songs in different arrangements to make
Right.
people go, I know that song. Why do I know that song? Oh crap, it's Piano Man. Oh
Yeah.
man, you know, and that's part of musicality. It's not all music is a pattern. So the song is going to start off with the verse. It's going to go into a pre-chorus, chorus, and then back to a verse. Then like a little solo, you
Mhm.
know. So establishing the pattern, and dancers are all about patterns because that's their choreography.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to the musical mind of a dancer to find that pattern in music. And usually, if it's the original song, they're all good. They all sing along. Everything's fine. But if I can play a bossa nova version of the song, now it's like, oh, what do I do?
Mhm.
What should I do? You do the same thing. It's the same song. It's just the
Right.
pattern's been changed rhythmically. So there was another question, I think,
Yes.
Dolores. Thank you. That was freaking awesome. That was a long time ago. That was 95.
So good. So entertaining. Yeah, Danielle asked the question: do you see musicality and timing as the same skill? That's interesting.
Mm, that's a good. Ooh, that's a good one. Let me think about that. Timing and musicality, they're almost the same, but they're not. Well, timing is vital, but also, you know, in timing, it doesn't have to be on the beat. We've watched ballroom dancers walk through the beat 9 bazillion times. They don't care. They just plow through it. And then what do though? They wait for the next part, right? They measure
Yeah.
that forward and backward, right? And that's an amazing skill. And I didn't even know that was part of the skill set when I first started watching ballroom. I'd be like so annoyed that why are they not on that foxtrot rhythm?
Yeah.
Slow, quick, quick, slow. Why are they? I almost wanted them to march it because it
Mhm.
bothered me so much that they weren't on each beat.
Mhm.
And then I learned quickly, yeah, they don't have to because watch them. Oh, that's musicality. They're keeping track of the beats they've left behind because they know on this next sequence, they're going to slow it up and come back to the rhythm. So, musicality and timing, I think, kind of juxtapose each other and they kind of bounce around because you
Mhm.
can play with timing. And it's guess what? It's even easier to play with timing when you know the song.
Right.
So, being familiar
Yeah.
again with music and the song, you can now predict like, well, I know right now it's coming 1, 2, like where a break in a song is. And I watch
Mhm.
couples hit a break I've watched couples realize they hit a break, and the guy stays and stands there, and the girl stands there because they react to it.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing. And then I've
Hmm.
also watched they hit a break and they plow right through it, and I'm like, man, man, opportunity missed.
They
Right?
missed it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Mm. That I like that answer. Do you think that musicality is especially like hitting the brakes of the song and paying attention to the music is like one of the ways to keep the audience engaged and get the judge's attention and kind of stand out?
That's the that is like a massive thing. If you're they're singing to the music, they'll hit when the music hits. And there's enough music in the competitive world that we're all kind of playing some of the same songs. I mean, all of the
Yeah.
albums that are released in Europe, well, we all get them. We all have them. They all end up in the studio. So
Hmm.
it's really rare. And even with music directors in the competition circuit now, they're all very pretty qualified to know what the energy ones are and what are not. Not in the old days. And I say old days, my days, because I'm old. But back then, it was just, you know, Peter Tooley over there who had a big collection of music, and he was the studio kind of music guy, and he so it was always this position of a guy who had this collection, and you just kind of tolerated what he played. And if he played something worse, you went over and then told him, "Hey, man, that's not good." Oh, okay, I won't play it anymore. Like they weren't dancers.
Hmm.
Most of the DJs back then weren't dancers. They were kind of like social dancers, but like hobbyists in music.
Yeah.
And so it didn't really become a profession officially until me and Dance Beat, Keith and Didio,
Yeah.
we just started doing over and over, and then creating a kind of a process of production of like, hey, we'll do dance songs and we're going to have music. We're going to play prize music during awards instead of it being quiet. Oh, okay. I guess, yeah, good idea. Well, yeah. So we just started doing these own little things to at least keep audio and music and the energy in the event all the time.
Hmm.
And
Right.
that's how, yeah, that developed from there.
Okay. Cool. So I wanted to go back to something when you were talking about like creating a story with your partner with each movement that you go through. And for pro-am dancers, when they're working with their coach, like how do you recommend they do that? Because it's like, well, the coach is like the authority there. Do you think they can come and be like, hey, let's come up with a story or let their coach do that? What are your thoughts?
Um, guys, that's all depends on the coach, because there are coaches that are like coaches that don't like to do choreography. They just want to kind of knead and trim and
Yeah.
help the couple. Others like are into choreography, and those are the storytellers. So the choreographing, I don't know how you would say it, choreographic coaches that are like, there's a lot that do really well and are sought out. Those are the
Yeah.
storytellers. If you want technicality, then there's technicality people
Hmm.
who don't really care about or into choreography. It's more like, let's get your technique and your center and all of your
Yeah.
skills solid so maybe you can do this choreography better. So I think there's a seek out between the two kinds of coaches, and not because you can't, if you go to a coach and you're like, dude, I need a story, da da da, and that coach is like a technical person, that coach is going to be like, ooh, okay,
Yeah.
this first step is look at your watch. It won't work, because
Right.
they'll want all this technical jargon to go on in your brain, not a story.
Hmm.
So I think that's a compromise and a share of like, when you're rehearsing, all right, when I'm not rehearsing the music, my technical thing is going on. When I got music on, I'm going to switch into musicality mode.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, you start going, well, now I don't think about my technique as much because it's coming through my musicality, or vice versa. My musicality is coming through my technique because I'm concentrating on the turnout, but I'm using the length of the music to keep the turnout.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think they're a side by side parallel universe that help each other all the
Okay.
time.
Okay. And so is that
I've
how
never
you
really paralleled that. That was a good question though, because
Yeah, yeah.
it's true. When I think about the coaches I had my whole time, I had musical craziness, and then
And
I
then
had technicality, and
yeah,
then a few. There's some really good both, uh,
yeah.
like Tony Redpath,
Oh,
both
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Gary Diana McDonald, both for sure. They know what they're giving you, and they know how to present it. So anyway, those, yeah, that was a good question. Good.
So it's like building your team of people, having multiple coaches on your team, so you can
Yeah,
get.
I mean, most of the couples have that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and most couples have one or two main coaches that is their
Hmm.
trusted go-to. But like other coaches say, no, go see this guy because he's da 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 da. He's great at mambos, things like that. So
Yeah.
um, that's how I do that.
Okay. Cool. And so one of my final questions for you, and then I am curious how, with music comparisons and everything, especially around competitions, but how do people practice this? Like, how do people practice adapting to different songs so they can be prepared for competitions and can be musical on the competition floor when they don't know what songs are going to be played?
Mm, good answer. Well, before I'm gonna plug myself. Before my app, there was all kinds of ways, but we have my app now.
Yeah.
And the reason we have the app is now everybody has access to all of that competition music that is played all over the country in all the events,
Hmm.
and they're all the right tempo and sequence and phrasing.
Hmm.
So for safety reasons, to make sure you're not listening to something that's misleading you, especially if you're a beginner and you're like, I'm not sure if that's a bolero. I mean,
Yeah.
or they'll say, I'm not sure if that's a rumba. And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. It's both. Bolero and rumba are two in the same. You
Hmm.
know, we'll talk about slight differences that I associate with, but
Yeah.
rhythmically. So that's where they get confused because it's like, well, this sounds fun, but is it really East Coast swing? And then they take it to the teacher and like, that's totally West Coast swing. It's not, you know. So once you leave the studio, that's the challenge because if you're not musically been dancing for 5 or more years, it's hard to recognize what rhythm you're hearing.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, hopelessly plugging the app that has all that music. But
Yeah.
on if you don't have that app and all that stuff, I just turn on music, Pandora, anything that will just give me playlists.
Right.
Spotify, of course. Now I'm like, I still just getting into Spotify at this moment. It's so
Yeah.
sad,
Yeah.
so sad.
Come on,
But
Brian.
I put in like a soul station called Soul Something. It's a playlist of soul, and like I'm hearing cha-chas, I'm hearing West, and I'm just associating like I could use that, and I could use that, and I just keep associating and not moving. I'm in my car, I could listen, but not only listening for what it is, but think about what else you could do to it,
Hmm.
because then you'll open your brain like,
Yeah.
well, I could see. I always associate rhythm, like finding how fast something is. If it's fast or slower, I go, can I do American cha-cha to this? That's what I do.
Yeah.
American cha-cha is at 120 and it's very slow, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. So foxtrot, tango, waltz,
Hmm.
um, they American rumba, all these songs are in that range. And
Yeah.
so I'll hear a song, and if I'm counting at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, I'm like, it's too fast because I that's a fast cha-cha.
Yeah.
Because they're all about the same. So I can associate it by counting it like cha-cha rhythm. And then I feel like I'm doing fast cha-cha chasses. Then
Yeah.
I'm like, then it's got to be too fast because I can find where 120 is in any of the rhythms if I
Right.
think of a cha-cha rhythm while I hear the beats.
Okay.
So that's a way to adjust like tempo if you're not used to or not sure about tempo.
Hmm.
But the best place is a source where it's all ballroom music and it's all the tempo you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now you have two different styles: the American style, which is cha-cha is slower, their rumba is faster, their
Right. Okay.
swing is slower, right?
Hmm.
Their bolero is the same, and mambo is its own tempo, not jive, right?
Yeah.
And then tango is ballroom tango is faster than American tango.
Hmm.
American waltz is slower, faster than those little slight differences. But I could still play a waltz for an American smooth couple at ballroom speed,
Hmm.
and they won't even care. They'll
Right.
barely notice because most of them practice at ballroom speed
Yeah.
because that's where most of the available music to get is all ballroom speed.
Hmm.
right?
Right.
All the European things that are there's no. I am the only American label that produces American style music.
Mm.
However, I just partnered with Dance Life over in Holland, and we are making an American style smooth rhythm compilations music.
Nice.
Um, so and they just partnered with the largest karaoke producer in the world. So now we can get those sound alike recent tracks that have been really recorded to sing karaoke to, but I
Yeah,
can now take it, subtract some rhythms, and make and convert these into ballroom tunes. It's going to be awesome. I just did Unholy. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that. It was awesome.
Yeah, want to
Very
see?
cool.
We could watch. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
that. So that was one
let's
of those.
go.
You want to
Let's
watch
watch
it?
it.
So that
Yeah.
was one of my. That was one of the. That was one of the drops that they were able to get like Unholy recorded, and so they sent it to me, and I'm like, if we double time this song, it is going to be a crazy cha-cha. And they're like, go for it. So I put in here it is. I put in all of the where's the video? Oh yeah. So I put in all the beats. I
Yeah.
put in there we go. So let me share this with you. So we were in San Jose, and not that one. Hold on. I'm gonna work this out. Hold on. I just have to there.
Yeah, Unholy is such a cool song. But yeah, and
Yeah, no, it worked out because it ended up being this amazing cha-cha
yeah.
that we got.
Cool.
And all right, here it comes. Unholy. Oh, I know why it's not coming up. There we go. Now I'm gonna switch. Sorry, I'm just window doing something. One more shot. I'm sorry.
No, it will be worth it.
I don't know about that. Here we go. Did you hear that? Okay.
I did.
We might have something here. Yes, I got it. Okay, enjoy. This is Unholy. So we were in San Jose, and um, we wanted to make a video just of the dancers, and we saw Bumchin and Michelle, who are number
Yeah.
3 in the U.S. amateur
Yeah.
Latin. So I'm like, hey, will you be in this video? We just want to do a sample. And they're like, yes. And so then this other video guy's like, dude, you need to be in this as well. I'm like, I'm not, no, I'm not in the video. It's like midnight, you know? And he's
Yeah.
like, no, you need to be in the video. I'm like, okay. So then they just started shooting, and then this happened. Can you see this?
Yeah. Oh,
That's
that's
so
so good. That's
makes me
such
laugh.
a good cha-cha. Wow.
Yeah, well, the cha-cha ended up, yeah, fantastic. They no, they did No, I was just happy to use a great track that actually sound like the voice. I mean, that sounds like that guy, but it
It
isn't.
really does.
So what it does is it
Wow.
makes licensing much easier because that's like a
Right.
global track. So like if I used the original, it would get tagged. I couldn't remix it. But now with Holland and Dance Life, they negotiate the licensing, and now I can make really fat tracks like that. That
That's
like
awesome.
modern music now, and so that
Mhm.
will be released at Emerald. So look
Oh,
for that
cool.
album.
I know
It'll be
some
fun.
people
And that
are
chart.
going to Emerald. So,
Yeah. Oh, well,
yeah,
all
I
day.
think
Yeah.
Danielle is going.
Cool. Let's have a music camp. We'll do that.
Woo, that'd be fun. Um, okay, I think Dolores has a question. So, do you or are you going to include country? I'm assuming she's talking country music for those of us who compete on the ACDA and the other circuits. Interesting question.
Yeah. What's funny is country is kind of like the sidecar for ballroom,
Hmm.
um, because, well, they're just snooty like that. Um, countries. It's like the swing world. Swing world is swing world.
Oh yeah,
Lindy, California, Carolina Shag, all that stuff. They have their own conventions, their own life, their whole industry. Really,
yeah.
they don't like the ballroom industry. Country and the country dancing industry, they don't like the ballroom industry.
Hmm.
Mm. So they don't really try to coincide together because some of the industries are loose and chill. One of the
Yeah,
industries is very uptight and snooty. So they're never all going to really get along together because
yeah.
they all have an issue with each other. And so like and when it comes to the UCWDC circuits, I don't even know anything about the whole country. I have a huge collection of country music that are two steps and Arizona two steps, which I don't even know what that is, and country waltzes. And then I have country competitors will help me keep music current. But the country tempos are so there's a huge range. I mean, we have a range of tempo plus or minus from like cha-cha's 120. I can play it up to 124 or 116. I
Yeah,
can I have that window that has
yeah,
now been established where country waltz is either 85 up to 120. Yeah, I'm talking like one, two, three, a one, up
wow.
to one, a two, a three, I want a two, a three, I want. I mean, just crazy range.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I'm like, as a dancer, I'm like, I don't even know what's coming down the pipe because
yeah.
the range of how fast it could go was crazy.
Hmm.
What does Danielle say? Share it. Don't share it. Don't
That was with
don't
the
share my.
I think it was the unholy thing.
Oh, share that. Okay. See, now Danielle has got me all paranoid now because she's all reporter person and now. Next thing I know, I'm on TMZ. I don't need any of that. Just kidding.
Never know. Never know.
So yeah, country is its own thing. I wish, ballroom would. I mean, for ballroom people, it's just more money for them to, teach more lessons, have more entries at a competition. I
Yeah.
don't, I, I don't know why they don't encourage it. I think it kind of draws focus of the ballroom and the
Hmm.
ballroom style. I think it's
Hmm.
such a drastic change. I mean, clothing alone, like let's
Yeah.
just be real. So I mean, all the European snoots be really into the bandanas, and the cowboy boots with the big belt
Right.
buckles. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
It's
They'll,
true.
the two have just been parallel all this time,
Yeah.
so they've never gone through. But that was a good question. Very interesting. Tony Santana, you want to hear an amazing album of instrumental cha-cha album from the rhythm and instrumental style? Here I leave the link in Spotify. Oh, Tony and Eduardo Fierro. Yes. That's a good one, Tony. You guys look at that. Look up Eduardo Fierro and Tony
Will do.
Santana. That's some really, really good music. Thank you, Tony. That's a great, great reference. I'm glad I saw that. Good, good, good. Even a lot of our common dances like Dolores. What has Dolores said? Are you going to include, oh, no, no. Sorry. This was,
Listen.
I can't read the rest. Several of our competitions, a ballroom event, unsanctioned. Oh, and a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of our common dances like waltz, East Coast swing, cha cha are becoming more like ballroom every year. We do have a lot of V waltz tunes. So, Dolores, are you referring to in country that it's like the country dancing is kind of converting over into more ballroom style? Is that what I'm reading?
Yeah, I think so because she asked the question also about including country in the song. So I think she competes in country as
Yeah,
well.
because they don't do country Viennese waltz yet. And they do country waltz, but I'm not sure if the country people also do the because the country singers they make a lot of Viennese waltzes. I
Yeah,
play a lot of country Viennese waltzes in the ballroom.
right.
So I'm like, why isn't there a country Viennese waltz?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because
Interesting.
Viennese is a foreign country and they don't want to say it because it's America.
Right.
I'm just kidding. I don't know. Maybe they can just call it the Virginia. They
Exactly.
call it the Virginia Knees Waltz.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe
I'm
that's
just
what
being
it's
silly.
like.
All right, Tony shared a link. Awesome, Tony. Thank you. That's you want to hear in a minute. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really
So we got links. Awesome. So yeah, there you go.
cool.
Where else?
Well, I want to dive in and hear some of your song comparisons that you were talking about when we were on the call a little early before this. Just so dancers especially can hear like different types of music and especially how to dance to different types of music, especially the tone of the music. Like if it was a really dark song, like you wouldn't just want to be smiling. Like that, in my opinion, that would be ignoring the tone of the song and what it's telling you. And so I would love to see some examples and hear your opinion on what you could do with different songs.
Good. Okay, well then let's start with the most drastic, I think, of difference in the songs styles from international to American style, and that is foxtrot.
Okay.
That is the most drastic, and people always ask me like, so American foxtrot has kind of a complex because it has to fight between all of that smooth, mellow, rolling hills of international foxtrot,
Hmm.
right? Compared to with the spinning, the hits, all of the jazz
Right.
and the sex and the dirtiness that it
Hmm.
is as well, because it's not just your run of the mill, um, my my neighborhood pastor foxtrot. This is
Yeah.
you know Hell's Angels are down the
Right.
corner and I need to impress them. Something
Right.
like that. So, and I think of that when we talk about music. If people ask, like, what's the easiest way to discern American style foxtrot music to international? I just say this: if the music feels like rolling hills and you're just kind of
Hmm.
boo ba ba dee da doo ba boom ba ba ba, then like if you're riding a bike, you didn't have to really work hard. Yeah,
Right.
that's kind of how international style. But American has peaks and valleys, like boom, jack da boom, jack da doo
Yeah.
ba boo ba boo ba boo, ja chong, ja da boom, right?
Right.
So it's like huge valleys of sound that make you dynamically want to physically change, because
Hmm.
if you're listening and being musical, you'll want to match that energy that's doom da da doom da. But then there are so in those foxtrot there are also mellow times, so there are also quiet times or whatever.
Right.
So then what I find is like the smooth dancers don't listen to the quiet part, so they're plowing through, doing all this stuff, and then it'll hit a quiet part, and they're still just flying hard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bring it down a notch, yo. Can you not hear? That is
Yeah.
not like that anymore.
Right.
But I know you're on the floor. You got a minute and a half to do your shtick. You're not really, unless you're like a seasoned pro, you're not really going to adjust with music while you're rolling through your minute and a half, right? Let's
Hmm.
be honest. You're in a whole nother zone and you're just trying to get through it and get off.
Yeah.
So, but again, if you start getting over like, I need to get through this, and being like, I'm entering a scene, like in
Hmm.
a play, you like, I used to act, I acted, for a while, I did a lot of it and other, but enough to know that every line when you go into an act, you don't go in thinking like, I just want to get off. I just want
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
this done and get done because that's what dancers do. Like, get out. I just want to just get it over with.
yeah.
Just get over with.
Right.
No, actors don't think that way. They don't even think about time. They're thinking about what they have to present, convey, and show in that amount of time they're on that stage. So
Hmm.
it's not a time issue. It is a quality issue of what I'm supposed to be doing in
Okay.
comparison to all the other actors and
Right.
so that's what I find dancers will just be like, I just want to get through it. So take that out of your brain and be like, I got a minute and a half to shine. I got a minute and a half
Yeah.
to show my shtick and I'm gonna have a blast and they're gonna know it. And that's all there is to it. So
Yeah.
that's what I would yeah. I always think that the performance always tops any other kind of stress. Because if I can get people, and this was my out, I realized at a young age that I wasn't the best dancer.
Hmm.
Technically, I didn't have the best extent, all that stuff. But I did know that I could pull the
Hmm.
attention of anybody. I could pull
Right.
the attention of everybody in the audience, and I know I could get everyone to look at me, not by goofing off, not by
Right.
being a show off, but my energy. If I couldn't be the best dancer, then I'm going to be at least the most entertaining one.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
I like that.
and that's what I always liked because
Yeah.
it helped. It helped me not worry about thinking about being the best. But I
Right.
knew if I entertained the best and I could capture an audience and I get better cheers and louder reaction, maybe it'll take in another judge to be like, yeah, he sucks, but the crowd sure likes him. Clunk, you know,
Right.
because that's
Yeah. You
happened
never
too.
know. Right.
Terrible dancers are up there in the final, but man, they are so fun to watch. You can't deny it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was what I thought as far as
Okay.
when I was trying to do that.
Yeah. That's really cool. It's like finding your strengths and knowing your strengths and playing off of those strengths instead of trying to make every part of your dancing the best it can be. Like, what am I really good at? And let's do more of that.
Yeah. No, then and then you're just not always caught up in that stuff.
Yeah.
Mentally, especially, it'll be a mental, terrible, ugh, crazy.
Right.
So I'm going
Right.
to play, I'm going to play an international foxtrot that I is quintessentially just a great, well, it'll explain the rolling hills
Oh,
concept to you. Okay.
got it.
So this is some one of the songs I play for pros, and let's make sure I can find it. There you go. So listen to this. You are the promised kiss of springtime that makes the lonely winter seem long. So it's like this little cruise ship just kind of
Right.
floating around. It's so nice.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Beautiful words, right?
Mhm.
I mean, doesn't want to be called a brushless breath of evening. I mean, it's such
Yeah.
melody, right?
Right.
And it's old style of songwriting. So let's go from that. And now let's uh let's take a smoothie and get all that breathness of springtime, and we'll be like, yeah, breathness of springtime. Um,
Yeah.
oh, what a beautiful day. Right?
Yeah.
Here it is, kind of. Then it'll kind of crazy. Things like my blade stuck in your back as you lay. Bigger. Oh, what a beautiful day. So it increases, and so you feel that sharp. So
Yeah.
that's an extreme. That was like you are sunshine to I want to murder you. So I literally took totally two different.
Right.
However, I will once in a while find a really good, like for a while I started playing this one for American for the pros, and the good ones loved it.
Yeah.
The ones that were still working on it were like, oh, it's a little, but it is so tasty
Yeah.
um to dance to. because it gives you all of that style. This is the X's and O's version.
Come along with me and I'll be your man. Show you all the things that you don't understand. Whoa,
So this is American Smooth to me
till
still.
I let you
Even though it
go.
does feel, right?
Yeah.
Feels like this.
Now there's one in California who's been cursing my
But then I
name.
take the beat, the
'Cause
bass
I
that's
got
going
me a
on,
better lover
and
in
this
the
little finger snap
UK.
gives it kind of this physical,
Till I make my getaway.
like a physical stimuli. I don't want to say sexual, but it's
1, 2,
physical.
3, they're gonna
You can
run
really feel
back
like it
to
in
me.
your gut.
'Cause I'm the best baby that they never gotta keep. 1, 2, 3, they're gonna run
And
back
so right here,
to
I was
me.
hoping it would like
They always
come in
wanna
and
come,
jam really
but
hard,
they never
but it doesn't. It
wanna
stays.
leave. Exes and O's, they
So
haunt
now
me.
this feels rolling
Like ghosts, they want me to make them all. They
So with
won't
that,
let go. X's and O's.
and then it kind of increases here as
X's and
in
O's.
intensity.
Yeah.
However, I would get feedback, and the ones that I like, the really good ones, they're just like, oh my gosh, I love it. So because
Yeah.
they could really express themselves in a real smooth way because you're open and you're spinning, you're dropping. Now, if I play that for international, that would probably end up being more of a show dance for a top couple
Okay.
because
Yeah.
they're going to break out and do choreography. But if I played that for like a semifinal or even anytime, I'm pretty sure they would not enjoy it because it's too jazzy and it makes their body, I think, if they're truly dancers, whether they do closed or open, um, music will affect you physically.
Yeah.
And so when I would play for modern dance classes, like Alvin A, I was playing for them, they do this beautiful lyrical piece. It's beautiful, long lines and just windy. And then the professor would come up and be like, I don't want you to play anything that looks like this choreography. I want you to play opposite. I want you to play something disjuncted, off. Just keep the rhythm, but don't match this choreography. And I'm
Right.
like, got it. And I'm like, I'm not even making chords. I'm making noise, but I'm keeping it in the rhythm. I'm throwing them
Yeah.
off. I'm throwing them so off because they mentally have to keep all this flow in their brain. And I'm like, I'm yelling, I'm chirping like a bird. I'm trying to distract them. And they all didn't phase a one of them. And this is Alvin Ailey, the finest dancers in the world. But
Yeah.
it was amazing to watch, like, how a contrast even improved the movement. So, but ballroom dancers in a show would do contrast, but you can't really expect to have contrast in a competitive event.
Right.
So I love that song. I would be like, well, it's not appropriate for ballroom because they don't get to do that. They're not going to be able to break out and feel that music. They're going to be stuck in this foxtrot shell and maybe not enjoy it. And then they won't do as well. And then it's
Yeah.
my fault. So and a lot of people don't think that I'm consciously thinking of those things, but I am. I literally, my idea is like, I don't really care about my music. I've had songs that I thought were the best. Found it at 3 a.m. I was so excited, played at the comp next weekend. I get these crazy looks like, what was that crap? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It was 3 a.m. I guess I thought it was good, but it wasn't good. So I throw it out. So even myself, where I think a song is amazing, it's not always amazing because we associate with music. Like if I see Phantom of the Opera as a solo one more time, I don't know what's going to happen. I might throw my laptop across the room. I don't know. But people don't take like what has to go across and come again and again and again, where they think they associate that personally. Like perfect example, I love Come Sail Away, the song by Styx back from the early 70s. Come sail away, like I think that would be an amazing cabaret because it's got this big break in there and all these synths. Now, guess what? If I came out and did a cabaret to Come Sail Away, my favorite song, what do you think would happen? It would just be weird. It'd be
Oh
Brent
yeah.
is weird. Brent's weird. What is this song? This, really? Dennis D. Young? I mean, it just wouldn't work. I would be
Right.
having the time of my life because I think this is the greatest song of all time, you know. But outside, nah, 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 nah. So I always
Mhm.
advise couples like, I know you love this song. This is your song when you grew up and you played with your dolly and you can't get it, but no one understands it
Yeah.
because they don't associate with it.
Right.
So that's the thing is the association that you can grab with music and kind of tie that story in if you're into that storytelling. So
Hmm. Interesting. So it's like it's really taking into account your audience, like what you're doing this for, who, like the judges that are going to be in front of you. Um, because I think
yeah,
if it
because
was like a small show number where it was just for you, then maybe that like your favorite song would work. But if it's like at a comp where you're getting judged and there's things on the line, then maybe not.
yeah, that's where you have to accept like the trust of, okay, this song has been done 9 bazillion times.
Yeah.
And no matter how special it is to you, it won't be special to the audience.
Hmm.
Now, if you took that same song, Phantom of the Opera, and got a
Yeah.
guy out there and put him in a cape and he's only wearing a banana hammock, then I would watch because I'd be like, what's this new twist on Phantom of the Opera do we have?
Right.
Okay, now we're ready to go because someone decided to go outside the box,
Right.
take what we've seen, right, like that. And that I can appreciate. I can always appreciate that. So creativity, even though it's always still is there, it's always there. So
Yeah. I really liked in that foxtrot you played though, like how subtle the changes were. Like you were showing it with your hand, like, okay, it's getting a little more intense here. And I was like, oh, now I'm starting to hear it now that I see your hand going with it. But if I was just like practicing that song in the studio, I don't think I would be aware of like those subtle little changes leading up to the bigger moments
yeah.
in that
And I think of
song.
those bigger moments because I think of what my body should be doing. Because again, when I told you originally when I first heard that song by Nat King Cole, Love, it had all these bam bams and big horn hits.
Yeah.
And I always was like, I gotta match those. If they're gonna
Right.
blast a big bam, I'm gonna be like, bam, like I wanna match that physically. So when I hear music, it's I have to think, can I physically match that? Or what is it saying? So Foxtrot in that style is like, yeah, I'm using that rise and fall through Foxtrot, right? Where you glide through the feather
Mhm.
step, the three
Right.
step, do your little heel turn, and all that stuff happens. But then when Foxtrot smooth is all jam and chemistry
Yeah.
and sass and flirt and just I mean just a whole different dance to me. 100%.
Right.
Yeah. It
So
is that.
I'm curious what you think. Do you think that the different dances have like a expected energy level to them or an expected story that couples should adhere to and like or should they try and be creative and do something else like like rumba is the love dance or I hear lots of people say oh I've got to act in love with my partner and everyone kind of expects that from rumba. Do you think that's a thing?
I think it's well, I've always said like it's a sequence of boy meets girl. So like if we take the Latin, the cha-cha is the meet,
Hmm.
flirt, see,
Yeah.
yeah, test. I'll go in and out. Samba is like after the third date
Hmm.
and the physical chemistry has started. And
Right.
this is now a challenge of like, because samba for women is exactly the same as for men. Whereas
Mhm.
cha-cha, men don't do hockey sticks. Men,
Right.
so but
Yeah.
Botafogo is a Botafogo for women. They're the
Yeah.
same, all of those tunes, right? So that to me is the dance, the challenge dance of like, oh, you can do samba? Well, watch me do samba, you piece of, blah, blah, blah. So it's this back and forth where you have that energy of competition, but it's sexual energy, and it's like, oh man,
Yeah.
what can you pull off for me? Wow, well, I'll show you this and that quickness. And then of course rumba comes along and like, yeah, they seal the deal, it's all good. And then
Right.
paso doble, with all the breaks and the stops in life, that's just life in general. And
Yeah.
then the jive is the celebration at the end of your old days. You're 97 and you just jive and then you die. That is the story of Latin.
Yeah.
So I just think
Wow.
it's a sequence of a relationship where
Yeah.
maybe all those dances can tell that story. Other people just literally do one scenario per dance.
Right.
But they all waltz again. You meet tango is the flirt and the back and forth. Viennese is the celebration. Foxtrot is the story of the relationship, right? And quick step is again the celebration. So I don't
Mhm.
know if they sequenced it that way. I don't think they
Yeah.
got that in depth, but it makes sense to me because
Yeah.
if they're going to put them all in five together, then there should be a sequence of something, not
I
just
agree.
right five individual
Yeah.
dances.
Right.
If you have to stare at your partner and act like you're in love with them and you don't like them, you stare at their earlobe. Stare right at their earlobe.
Right.
You don't have to look at their eyes ever, and their earlobes mostly are pleasant, but it will look like you are directly gazing into their eyes lovingly and would never leave them.
Mhm.
But it's really an earlobe. So
Okay. Good
just
tips.
every love scene you've seen in movies, they're looking at the earlobe. They are not looking at the eyes.
They're such good actors that they make you think that it's real.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, that's a really interesting point. Yeah, and I think that people can play within that story, like how they want to interpret like the samba or what kind
Right.
of energy that they want to have in that dance. Then there is room for creativity there.
Yes, exactly. For sure. For sure.
Cool. Well, I think that that's all the questions that I have. I don't. Do you guys, anyone watching, have any other questions?
Well, participating, that was awesome. Oh, Dolores says, yes, we do. They have Viennese Waltz and Country. Oh, Dolores, my bad. I've never seen, or they haven't done ballroom country Viennese Waltz yet. That is not entered into the ballroom world. So they have
Okay.
Viennese Waltz.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Maybe if we do this again, we'll go
Yeah,
over some country Viennese waltzes or whatever. So,
that would be cool.
but thanks for hanging. Let me hang out. I'm down here in New Orleans where our band is playing Friday night and Saturday, and so we got live music here. So we're very excited.
Well, best of luck with that. Thank you so much for doing this and taking the time to come and chat with me. And I really appreciate it. It was awesome.
Anytime. And remember, the app is there. It's in iPhone or Android. Music Mills, one word. The website is musicmills.net, and I'll put it in the comment. And it's a free app, and it functions three different ways. You have the app will play all the music in your phone. There is a Music Mills radio, which is free, and that plays professional rounds 24/7 in all four styles
Cool.
for free. And it's the music that I play in the rounds. It's my
Cool.
music. There's a party station in the radio, so you have dance parties, 45-minute dance parties
Nice.
with sequence music faded in and out.
Right.
And then the third thing is the Music Mills Live, which is the streaming, the Spotify for dancers.
Mm.
So 32 different channels. The international cha-cha channel, for instance, international samba, and it's all my music. And you can either just put on the cha-chas and they'll play over and over, or you can do single dances and make cues and
Mhm.
like cha-cha, samba, rumba, and things like that. So that's all online, musicmills.net. And software for studios. If you have a studio and you need software to
Yeah.
run your music, I've made software as well. So anyway,
Definitely.
thank
Cool
you.
thing.
This is amazing. I appreciate you having me on. Talk about music, because no music, no dancing, right?
I agree. We've got to have the music. Awesome. Well, thank you. I'll look forward to seeing you at a comp. Come say hi.
Yes. Come on over. You going to Beach Bash?
To be determined.
Okay. Well,
I'll
let
let
me
you know.
know. Anyone, please come say hi to me. Anybody watching, please come. You're more than welcome to come ask for a song, what song was played, whatever. Open book, anybody. Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, I will see everyone later. Bye,
All
guys.
right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Livia.